Hello everyone, welcome back, and thank you for being here, because what we're talking about today isn't just another headline, it's a slow-motion collapse that's happening right in front of our eyes. London, a city that spent more than 5 centuries as one of the most powerful, desirable, and influential capitals on Earth, is now bleeding residents at a rate that should terrify anyone who cares about its future. The numbers that have just come out are not just bad, they are historic, and not in a good way. Over the last 18 months alone, an estimated 347,000 people have left London permanently. That's not a neighborhood, not a borough. That's the population of an entire city gone. Week after week, roughly 12,000 people are packing up their lives and walking away, and these are not tourists, students finishing degrees, or short-term workers. These are British citizens, families, professionals, people whose parents and grandparents built lives in this city, all reaching the same brutal conclusion. London is no longer worth the cost. For the first time since the Black Death in 1348, London's population has gone into reverse. Let that sink in. Wars, fires, bombings, plagues, and economic crashes couldn't empty this city, but modern London has managed to do what centuries of catastrophe could not. After decades of uninterrupted growth that pushed the population close to 9 million by 2020, the momentum has completely collapsed. Official data from the Office for National Statistics shows net domestic migration is now deeply negative, meaning far more British citizens are leaving London than moving in, and the pace is accelerating. These numbers are not shouted from government podiums or splashed across glossy brochures because frankly, it looks catastrophic for a so-called world capital to be emptying out. But council tax records, GP registrations, school enrollment figures, and housing data all tell the same story. Between January and November of 2024 alone, an estimated 420,000 residents left London permanently. The only reason the population hasn't fallen faster is because international students and refugees have temporarily filled some of the gaps, but even those groups are now starting to leave as the realities of cost and quality of life sink in. At the core of this exodus is a simple, brutal truth that nobody in power wants to say out loud. London has become mathematically impossible for anyone who isn't in the top 5% of earners, and even many of them are feeling the pressure. Housing is the clearest example. Just 5 years ago, in 2019, a one-bedroom flat in Zone 2, places like Clapham, Brixton, or Hackney, would cost around £1,200 a month. Today, that same flat rents for £2,400. That's a 100% increase in half a decade. Two-bedroom flats that families actually need have jumped from around £1,800 to £3,800 in decent areas. If you want a modest house with a small garden for children, you're looking at £4,000 a month minimum, and that's often in Zone 4 or beyond. Meanwhile, salaries have barely moved. The average London wage has increased maybe 15% in the same period, and for many people, pay has stayed flat or fallen in real terms once inflation is taken into account. The real-world impact of this is devastating. A mid-level professional earning £45,000 a year, which is above the UK median, used to spend about 30% of their take-home pay on rent. Today, that same person is often spending 60 to 70% just to keep a roof over their head. After tax, they might take home around £2,800 a month, with £2,000 disappearing instantly on rent. That leaves £800 for food, transport, utilities, clothing, savings, and any semblance of a life. There is no buffer, no security, no future in that equation. One unexpected bill and everything collapses. Transport only makes things worse. A Zone 1 to 3 travel card that cost around £2,000 annually in 2019 now costs closer to £2,800. That's just to get to work. But the real cost isn't just money, it's time. The average London commute now takes around 74 minutes each way. That's nearly 2.5 hours a day, over 12 hours a week, and roughly 600 hours a year. You are spending the equivalent of 25 full days of your life every single year just commuting. As people are pushed further and further out to find slightly cheaper rent, the commute gets longer, more expensive, and more exhausting. Living in Zone 6 might shave a few £100s off rent, but when you're spending 4 hours a day on trains and £3,000 a year on travel, you're not saving money. You're just burning your life away. For families, London has crossed from difficult into impossible. Childcare costs now rival or exceed university tuition. Average nursery fees sit around £2,000 a month per child, meaning £24,000 a year after tax for just one child. Schools are another battlefield. Good state schools are oversubscribed by ratios as high as 10 to 1, and in many cases, you need to live within a few hundred meters to even have a chance. But homes near good schools cost millions. If you can't get in, private school fees average £25,000 a year per child. A typical family with 2 children might need a 3-bedroom flat costing £4,000 a month, childcare or school fees of another £4,000, and basic living costs of £2,000. That's £10,000 a month just to exist, or £120,000 a year after tax. To afford that, a household needs to earn close to £180,000 before tax. How many jobs realistically pay that? It's no surprise then that London's birth rate has collapsed, falling by around 34% in just 5 years. Families are leaving in droves or deciding never to form in the first place. The city is increasingly a temporary stop for people in their 20s before the financial reality forces them out. At the same time, crime has surged while policing has visibly collapsed. Knife crime is up more than 40%. Phone thefts have exploded by hundreds of percent. Walking with your phone out in public has become a calculated risk. Women in particular no longer feel safe. The names Sarah Everard, Sabina Nessa, and Zara Alina are not just statistics. They are reminders of a deep failure. Almost every woman in London now has a safety routine. Keys clenched between fingers, fake phone calls, avoiding empty streets, and even traditionally wealthy or safe areas are no longer immune. Burglaries, assaults, and thefts are happening everywhere. The Metropolitan Police has been placed into special measures, which is government language for fundamentally broken. Emergency response times average nearly an hour. For non-emergencies, officers often never show up at all. Crimes are reported online, a reference number is issued for insurance, and that's the end of it. The NHS situation in London is just as bleak. GP appointments can take weeks, specialist referrals take months, A&E waits of 8 hours or more are now routine, and people are literally dying in waiting rooms. Private healthcare is an option only for those who can afford it, with GP visits costing hundreds of pounds and insurance running into thousands a year. Dental care on the NHS has effectively disappeared, with most dentists refusing new patients entirely. Beyond money and services, there's a deeper issue that's harder to measure, but impossible to ignore. London has become one of the loneliest cities in the world. Studies consistently show extreme social isolation, despite the massive population. Communities have been hollowed out. Neighbors don't know each other. Local pubs, once the backbone of social life, have closed by the thousands over the past decade. Community centres have been sold off and replaced with luxury flats. Churches have been converted into gyms and climbing walls. Dating feels impossible when everyone is broke, exhausted, stressed, and living with strangers well into their 30s. The average age of a first-time buyer in London is now over 40. Friend groups constantly dissolve as people move away, and nothing feels permanent. So who is replacing the British families leaving in such vast numbers? Mostly temporary residents. International students paying enormous fees who leave after a few years. Tech workers on short-term visas. Ultra-wealthy foreign investors who buy property as a financial asset and never live in it. London is increasingly a hotel, not a home. A transit point, not a destination. Schools in some areas now consist overwhelmingly of children who will be gone in a few years. There is no continuity, no rooted community. British culture, local accents and traditions are fading, replaced by a generic global city feel that could exist anywhere on earth. People are not just leaving for cheaper rent, they're leaving for a life. Manchester offers dramatically lower costs with comparable salaries. Birmingham offers houses for the price of a London room. Edinburgh offers culture without financial suffocation. And many are leaving the UK altogether. Tens of thousands of former Londoners moved to places like Dubai, Spain, and Australia last year alone, and most are not coming back. Remote work shattered the old logic that forced people into London. London isn't collapsing overnight. It's slowly hollowing out, losing the teachers, nurses, artists, and builders who made it function. What remains is an investment vehicle for global capital and a theme park for visitors. The exodus is not slowing down, it's accelerating. The city that survived plague, fire, and war is now struggling to survive greed. People aren't leaving because they hate London. They're leaving because London has made it clear it no longer wants them to live there, only to pay. And once that realization sets in, leaving becomes the only rational choice. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update.